We don't subscribe to the old school way, nor the new school way, only the optimal way. The 80-20 Baseball Experience with Coach Bo.
What's up, everybody? This is Coach Bo with 80-20 Baseball. This is episode 26. Go back, if you didn't already listen to episode 25, go back and listen to episode 25, or when you're done listening to episode 26 here, go back and listen to episode 25. I interviewed Coach Colter Bostic of Maximize Baseball out of San Antonio, and the episode is full of solid information, useful information, specifically for baseball coaches and baseball players, and even more specific to baseball coaches that work with pitchers and pitchers themselves. Coach Bostic shares out a ton of wisdom in that episode. We discuss the following: a proven plan for coaches and players to develop the whole athlete so as to avoid weaknesses in any key areas. We talked about 3 steps to an optimal mental game. We talked about hard and soft focus and how to blend those together to improve and optimize a player's game. We talked about the primary goal of youth baseball in his mind. We talked about the pros and cons of being a baseball-only athlete versus a multi-sport athlete. And I think that might be one of the best topics we had in that whole show, although all of them were good. I think that one really kind of sheds a little bit of a different light than the common narrative that we hear in the baseball community. We also talked about specific steps to increase a baseball player's athleticism. We discussed Colter's KPI, key performance indicator chart, that he has on his website and that he put out on Twitter. And to finish up the last episode, Coach Bostic shares 2 specific success stories with us, and he lays out exactly what he did with those 2 players to achieve that success. So go ahead and check that out. In this episode, we got 3 parts. We're going part 1. I got a great movie recommendation for you. Not only is it a good movie and a fun movie, and some of you have already seen it, I'm going to discuss what we can take away from it as coaches to be better coaches, to be better teachers of the game of baseball. Even though this particular movie is actually not about a baseball team, it's another sport. In fact, it's actually hockey. In part 2, we're going to get into an 8-part series, and I'm going to break it down over the next 8 episodes, and that is the 8 steps to creating a perfect drill, anytime, anywhere. And in part 3, I'm going to share with you a super effective 2-minute pre-game visualization routine for your team, for your players, for your son, your daughter to do right there in the dugout before the game. And as always, we're going to move through quickly. I'm going to keep this episode under 30 minutes. You're going to get 3 great things to learn, and we're going to keep it short here, and we're going to move through it quickly. Here we go. Part 1. I have a vetted movie recommendation for you. The movie is called Miracle. And Miracle, many of you are familiar with the movie, is a movie about the 1980 USA hockey team, the Olympic hockey team that played, actually the games were in the United States. They were in Lake Placid, as many of you know, especially you older coaches and older parents. Now, while many of you are familiar with the story, you've watched the movie, maybe you read the book, not a lot of eyes are going to be looking at it from the lens of a coach. And so when I watched the movie and subsequently I read the book, I watched it through the eyes of a coach and what we could learn from it. And I'm going to point out some key things that we can learn from Coach Herb Brooks. And Coach Herb Brooks did an outstanding job of utilizing some strategies, some psychological strategies, and some physical strategies to get his team of talented but young, unprofessional, I should say, amateur players. They were professional in the way they handled themselves, but they were amateur players, and they were going up against the world's best players. And the Russian team that they beat, they got that CCCP across the jersey. It's like there's like Chris Paul, they like CP3. No, they were like 3CP. That CCCP, I'll tell you what, when I was growing up, that was kind of a little intimidating because, you know, of all the things that was kind of going on in the world at that time. And I think that, you know, there were a bunch of men in those jerseys versus the United States team, which was a bunch of 18, 19, 20, 21, 22-year-olds, college kids. We didn't at the time do the professional players in the Olympics, and the Russians had professional players. In fact, not only did they have professional, they literally trained for this as a team to come in and just demolish everybody. And hockey is massive in Russia. It still is. And just amazing players come out of there. And what Herb Brooks and the team did was phenomenal. And as most of you know, the story. But from a coaching standpoint, here's what I want you guys to get out of this. Herb Brooks was not there to be the players' friends. He was not there to just cave in when they all complained, because they did. And he wasn't there just to be buddy-buddy with them. He was there to lead them. He was there to guide them. He was there to give them tough love when they needed it. I think it's a great example of how to be a coach that uses tough love. Now, there's a caveat in my kind of thought on this movie, and that is, I do believe Herb Brooks could have praised a little bit more. I think you could praise more, at least from the movie and in the book. I didn't get the impression that he did as much praising as I would recommend. In fact, he didn't do really any praising from what I gathered. And I do think praise is super valuable. I do not believe that they have to be mutually exclusive. That is toughness, discipline, and praise. I absolutely think the way to go as a coach, to be the best coach, is to have both, to do both, and to be both. To praise and then be the tough love. To be, sharing of praise and boosting their confidence, while at the same time being able to draw a line in the sand and not caving in. And so Herb Brooks, there was times where the team was about to quit. There was times where, there was a lot of turmoil internally, and they were just super frustrated, the players. He was demanding a lot of them, but it was that tough love. He didn't cave in. He had to be the leader. He was not there to be their friend. He was there to lead them. In fact, he used a strategy which can definitely backfire. So I wouldn't recommend youth coaches do this. And unless you're a super, super, super experienced coach and you know your team really well, I don't know if I would use this strategy, because this does take some planning and it does take precision. He actually used himself as kind of like the enemy for the group of players. Like, he wanted the team to kind of hate him so it would bring the team closer together. He thought because these college players were from other teams and there might be some, issues with cohesiveness, and there might be some issues with how they bonded, he actually kind of went around and kind of made them not like him on purpose so they could kind of gather together. They could kind of get together as a team and bond together as kind of a unified front against him. An awesome strategy. It worked amazingly. Be very careful if you're a coach trying this. And in fact, it doesn't really need to be played out in most situations, but I think that's an interesting strategy. So talk about, if you're just a casual fan, you watch the game, this team of players from the college ranks beat basically a professional team that was, hardened professionals of 28-year-old men that were just dominating the world at the time. But you don't know behind the scenes, he actually did all this stuff on purpose so he could get the most out of his team. Now, physically, one thing that he did that doesn't apply specifically to baseball, he made sure his team did not lose to a lack of physical conditioning. So if you're a basketball coach, if you're a football coach, definitely basketball or hockey, you definitely do not want to run out of gas. Boxing, if you're coaching sports that cardiovascular, cardiorespiratory, physical conditioning are game changers, then you need to understand that what he did there was just an amazing mindset. His mindset was, we are not going to lose. We may lose. We may not bring home the gold, but we're not going to have that happen. We're not going to lose because of our physical conditioning not being the best at the Olympics. Now, in baseball, what I think is important to keep in mind is you do have extra inning games. So you are standing out there for a while. So just the standing for hours and the, kind of that, pitching. Some people think that pitching is this I got to be in great shape to be a pitcher. Pitching is not about cardiorespiratory, like I'm going to run out of breath because I pitched 140 pitches. It just doesn't happen. It's not the kind of activity that does that. It's very anaerobic. It's not an aerobic exercise. So it's very like you throw a pitch, you give it your best for like 1 to 2 seconds, and then you get a break. It's not this long-term marathon thing. So there shouldn't be any physical conditioning there. There definitely there shouldn't be any physical conditioning in terms of like lungs and heart rate and things like that, and oxygen. I mean, definitely some physical conditioning in terms of arm strength and leg strength. Absolutely. So that's why I would recommend for like pitching staffs and pitchers and baseball players is you train with kind of a strength base and you do a lot of reps. I love my pitchers doing a lot of body weight jump squats and single leg squats and lunges of all directions. I love them doing a ton of those because in a game, yeah, that's going to start to fatigue when you get to pitch 80, when you get to pitch 90, when you get to pitch 110, your legs are going to start giving out a little bit. They're not going to firm up as much. And if you lose your base, you're going to lose your arm eventually. And that's not where you want to be. But with Herb Brooks, he used conditioning. And I think if you're a basketball coach or especially basketball, you do not want to lose the game on physical conditioning. One of the greatest high school basketball coaches, one of the greatest basketball coaches of all time, Bob Hurley Sr., and I'm going to talk more about Bob Hurley Sr. I'd love to get Bob Hurley Sr. on this show. From what I've read about him and watched some things, the documentaries on him, watched him talk to, he's my kind of coach. Bob Hurley Sr. is one of those basketball coaches that, just really physically demanded a lot out of his players, among other things. Definitely, he had a lot of skills as a coach, but one of them was like he's not going to lose games because they couldn't, he literally full court pressed entire games, and the guys would do it, and they would just wear out the other team, and obviously they could shoot and do other things, and offensively they were good with their strategies and things like that. But in baseball, physical conditioning, pitchers should not lose because of physical conditioning, and pitching is probably the main one. And catching, you got to make sure you get a lot of squats in, a lot of single leg work, a lot of lunges, a lot of split squats, a lot of single leg. There's a lot of the old Romanian single legs. They're not deadlifts and things like that. I know that word by like a guy I respect, Mike Boyle. He doesn't really like the Romanian. He kind of just elevated split squats is what he calls them. But regardless of the names, what's most important when it comes to training like physical conditioning and learning from this movie Miracle, where they literally would just skate and skate and skate and skate and skate, not including their practice time when they're working puck handling and things like that. This was just skate, 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 and skate until they were throwing up some more. Now, you could get into the whole like, hey, you got to be careful and you can overexert players and things like that, and you got to be careful with that. But he did not want to lose because of physical conditioning. I think he had a good handle on that and a good kind of thumb on the pulse of his team, no pun intended. And the last thing I'll say about the physical conditioning is that we can learn in the baseball community, the baseball development world, the player development world of baseball, is that I think we need to do a lot more time on reps and a lot more reps, especially with pitchers. Definitely with catchers and the squat. I mean, they're squatting down every time there's a pitch, every time there's a pickoff, every time there's anything, even if the hitter calls time, they got to squat down. Think about all those reps. I mean, you're talking 100 to 200 reps a game, and that's just one game. So I think reps is important. Pitchers, lunges, jump lunges, single leg squats, split squats, and lighter weights, something you can just do a lot of reps of so you can build through that stamina of the leg. So I'll leave it at that. But the thing that I loved most about Herb Brooks and Miracle, other than the United States winning that gold medal when they were big-time underdogs going up against a team that had everything stacked in their favor. Besides that, what I really thought was something that we could all take as coaches is that he was there to guide and not to be the friend of the team and the players. And I think that's super important. I said it a couple times already. He should, I think, given a little more love. I think the tough love, but he definitely didn't cross the line of trying to be their friend. And he also didn't lose due to a lack of physical conditioning. So that's a great movie. It's a fun movie to watch. But from a coaching standpoint, go watch that and then take that and use that out there. Because again, I know it's a movie, and I think it's a Disney movie. I get it, and it's supposed to be entertaining, but that movie is about a coach who had some success, or I should say the ultimate success for the Olympics, and he did it with such an underdog team, and he did it with strategies that we can all learn from. And again, I'll finish with, I think he could have just been a little bit more on the praise, but I love how he gave tough love, and he didn't lose because of physical conditioning and strength. All right, part 2. This is step 1 of an 8-step procedure or process when it comes to building the perfect drill anytime, anywhere. This is going to be part of an 8-part series, and we're going to start in this episode, and we're going to break down the 8 steps. 2 of those steps kind of blend together a little bit, but I'm going to separate them so I can give you specific examples of how they are a little unique. But this is going to be an 8-step process. We're going to break it down. This is step 1 right here. And step one begins with this question that all coaches should ask themselves. What will bring us, my team, our team, the highest return on our practice time? You have to prioritize the skills and the strategies and the situations and things like that, the actions that are going to bring the highest return on your practice time. And then you're going to look at that and go, is this number 11 on the list? Let's not get to this until we've gotten great at hitting, at fielding, at pitching, at base running, things like that. Like, are we going to get into how to do rundowns? I wouldn't spend a lot of time on rundowns as a specific example. So, is the drill highly relevant to game success? Is it in the 20 of the 80-20? Is it part of the vital 20% of things that are going to drive 80% of your team's success? Is it a big needle mover? When I say needle mover, is it something that really affects and can really help and improve the team culture, the results on the scoreboard, or individual success, which all really go together for the most part? Is it a big needle mover? If not, then you shouldn't be practicing it very much, if at all. So your first step to creating a great drill, remember, if you're practicing the wrong things, or you're practicing something that's inconsequential towards success or very limited in regards to its effect and its impact on the scoreboard, on the team culture, on the success of your individual players. And I think what happens is a lot of coaches get in, or they see a great drill and they get caught up in how great the drill looks, or the kind of the shiny object of a new drill, and they don't take the time. And this is so important, and we can all learn so much from this first step, and it can save us so much, that we need to first make sure that we're training and drilling and practicing the things that are going to be the big needle movers. And only when you perfect and get really great at the big needle movers do you want to go to those little things that bring a 1% improvement, a 2% improvement. And at the youth level, I've talked about this recently a lot. I don't even think you should get into those 1-2% little cherry on top strategies or things to do. Like, for example, like with pitching, I would not get into like finger pressure with youth baseball pitchers. I wouldn't be like, well, have a little more pressure here on your index finger, a little more pressure on this, or pronate early or prematurely. I wouldn't get into that stuff as a pitcher. I'd worry about health, strength, leg mechanics, delivery, direction, momentum, hip hinge, all that stuff before I would even think about getting into some of those little 0.5% improvement items, because you just don't have the time as a youth coach, as a high school player and high school team and a high school coach. And even with the college level having strict time restrictions and things like that, I don't think even that is something that you should get in. It's like nail the 20 out of the 80. And that's why I'm a huge 80-20 fan. Again, like I said, if you go out there and you train, your drill could be awesome, but if you're training the things that, like, you could have the best rundown drill in the world, and you could go out there and it's like, yeah, I got the pickle drill that is the Hall of Fame, the greatest of all time, the GOAT pickle drill. But pickles are not going to win or lose you probably any games all year, maybe at the most one, maybe, but I'd put rundown defense or rundown offense like number 13 on the list of priorities. And so unless I'm in pro ball or college ball, I have a lot of time to spend on it. I wouldn't even get to that. You might do some fun stuff at the end of practice. That's different, but I wouldn't allocate my precious, time to that out there. So the drill must be highly relevant to game success. And as you move up and you have more time to practice, then you can look at it and go, okay, what are some things that are a little less relevant, but still relevant to game success? And then you can hammer on those. All right, so that's step one. Before you even start the drill, is this drill practicing something? Is this drill training? Is this training method going to help us in something that is highly relevant to the game success? And when I say game success, it's team culture success, because a great team culture is going to lead to more game success. And when you have more game success and more of a greater team culture, you're going to have more individual success too. It's a win-win-win. The best teams always have win-win-win. A great team culture, great individual success in terms of their careers, making the varsity, getting a scholarship, getting drafted, and then the success of the team. It should all go together. It shouldn't be mutually exclusive for the most part. I'm not saying they can't happen in isolation, but I mean, they definitely can happen in isolation. But the great teams, the great consistent winning teams, all have all three put together. So you must ask yourself before you step out there to train and use the drill, make sure it's doing something that's relevant. And if it's not, push it to the back and get to it if and when you have time. Okay, Part 3 of this episode, a super effective 2-minute pregame visualization routine for your team and for your players to do right there in the dugout. This is something players can actually do at home in the evenings or before games on their own. So if you're a parent listening to this could absolutely help you. This is what I call just using your time wisely and getting the most out of just 2 minutes. Again, you can set your goals really lofty and say, I'm going to visualize for 20 minutes every day, success. I think if you set your goal, I'm a big believer in setting your bar and your goals low in your daily routines. And for example, I work out 5 days a week, but I cap it at 27 minutes. I cap it at 28. I cap it at 29, depending on the workout, but I never go past 30. And why do I not go past 30? Because I want to do it for the next 50 years. So I set my goal and I go, right, when I wake up and I get up usually in the morning pretty early to go out there to the garage and work out. And I go, well, I got 27 minutes today. I got 29 minutes today. Let's go. If I set that bar at 2 hours or an hour and a half, the chances of me consistently going out there and doing it over and over and over again through the rest of my life are really low. And you all know what I'm talking about with that. So I don't need to go any further on that, right? So I use that same approach with everything, especially when you're coaching. Set the goals for your players. Set them, have goals, but set them where they can achieve them, especially those individual, daily goals. Like, for example, this one right here, you would use maybe every day. A player could use at home. And as a coach of a team, you could use this with your players right before the game. I recommend you do this right before the game. If you're a coach and you're doing this with your players, you got them on the bench, you've warmed up, you've gone through your whole pregame routine. Go to the 8020baseball.com website. Go to my website. I have an entire pregame routine scripted out for you. It actually breaks down like all the different game times. So if you have a 9 a.m. game time, and it has the times, the slots, exactly what to do. I got videos on there with the drills. It's part of the master coaching program. It'll literally give you an entire script for how to do a pregame routine, and where this slides in, this visualization slides in right at the end, right before you're going out there, kind of giving your team a little bit of a break, a little bit of a rest before the game starts. This is something you can do. Now, if you're a head coach and a lot of times you're out there discussing ground rules with the umpire, you have a assistant coach. That's going to be their job to do this. You're going to have a parent slide in. If it's youth baseball, maybe they can slide in, but I definitely would have an assistant or somebody else who can go through this script, and you can have it scripted out just like I have it scripted out right here for you. First, I'd have the whole team on the bench. I'd have them close their eyes, and then I'd lead them through this sequence of thoughts. Okay, here you go. Number 1, I would tell my players this. Number 1, see yourself swinging hard and crushing a pitch to deep left center. So number 1, see yourself swinging hard, visualize yourself swinging hard and crushing that pitch to deep left center. Before I go to number 2, I would preface this with players. The deeper, or I should say, the more crystal clear you can visualize this, the more vivid you can visualize this, the greater the effect. All right. So number 2, I would say this to my players. See yourself taking and not swinging at a pitch that's below the knees. Number 3, see yourself swinging hard and crushing a pitch to deep right center, crushing it into that gap. Number 4, see yourself getting a steal jump off the pitcher, a great steal jump off the pitcher. Visualize that pitcher lifting his leg, lifting that front leg. Visualize that front leg coming off the ground, and you see light between his foot and the dirt, and you're gone. See yourself getting that great jump. All right, number 5, see yourself getting a quick jump on a ball when you're on defense. So getting a great jump if you're a shortstop, getting a great jump on a ball in the hole, a ball up the middle, outfielders, getting a quick jump on a ball in the gap, getting a quick jump on a ball over your head. Visualize yourself seeing the ball come off the bat and you reacting quickly, and then visualize yourself making a great diving stop or a great diving catch. See how I kind of crystallize it? These are things you can kind of say to the players to really see themselves doing it. And number 6, I would say see yourself fielding a ground ball smoothly or catching a fly ball cleanly and then making a firm bullseye throw to either first base or home plate or another base. I prefer first base for my infielders because that's predominantly where the throws are going to go. You could also say turning to. Infielders, middle infielders, see yourself, visualize yourself fielding a ground ball smoothly and fluidly making a throw to second base to turn 2 or to first base to get the out. Outfielders, see yourself getting behind the ball, getting a glove up, getting ready to go forward with your momentum, catching that ball cleanly, and then getting rid of it, making a firm bullseye throw right to home plate, hitting the catcher right there in the belt. And so those are the 6 things that I would read off to them. And I would have those 6 things. You can add some here and there, but those are 6 very common things that happen. So you have a couple on offense where they're swinging and driving it to the left center gap, then one to the right center gap. Then they're visualizing themselves not swinging at a pitch, taking a pitch. I think that's important to visualize too. And then it gets into, there's number 4 is a base running visualization. Visualize yourself getting a great steal jump, getting a great jump off that pitcher. Visualize that pitcher. Maybe look in the bullpen. Everybody open your eyes, look in the bullpen right now. See that pitcher? All right. Watch him go through his next delivery, his next pitch. If he's still down there warming up. Okay, now close your eyes. Visualize him lifting that leg and you're gone. Number 5, visualize yourself getting a great jump on a ball on defense and then making a diving stop. Visualize yourself making that diving stop and popping up. And then number 6, see yourself fielding a ground ball smoothly or a fly ball smoothly and cleanly and then making a firm bullseye throw to home plate. Now, this is a 2-minute routine. There are 6. If you divide that by 6, 2 minutes by 6, it's 120 seconds divided by 6. That's 20 seconds each. So you give them 20 seconds to visualize each part. You can randomize it, or you could just stay in the sequential order that I just gave. So that's a great routine before the game. 2 minutes, you're going to have the players visualize success, visualizing it specifically and acutely if possible right before the game. And if anything, it gives them a chance to have a breather and kind of get their focus back, kind of meditative in a way too. All right. This has been Coach Bo. We covered Miracle, the Miracle on Ice, the Miracle the movie with Herb Brooks and Team USA hockey. Don't be the player's friend. Give him tough love. Again, like I said, I don't think he gave him love, but he had his strategies in his particular instance. But be tough. Draw a line in the sand. You're not there to be their friend, but praise them. Don't be a jerk ever. Don't disrespect them. But don't be that you're not there to be their friend and their buddy. And whatever you do, don't cave into their requests and they're all going to want the path of least resistance. You're the coach. You got to guide them and never lose because of a lack of conditioning. Don't give up the game if you're a pitcher in the 7th inning, the 6th inning because your legs are fatigued. That should never happen. Catchers, don't get lazy at the end of the game. And I love catchers. You guys are awesome. It's such a great position. I got so much respect for catchers. Catchers, you just don't want to get to the end of the game or extra innings and have to get pulled out of the game if you don't have to. But more importantly, you don't want to get lazy and have to backhand a ball where you could have gotten down and kept that ball in front of you and saved the winning run. So make sure you're getting physically in condition. I recommended a lot of reps with the leg exercises, not as much with the weight, but a lot with the reps. And part 2, we talked about step 1 of the perfect drill. Is it highly relevant? What you're training, what you're drilling, what you're practicing. Is that drill going to get something that's highly relevant better? Something that's going to be highly relevant to game success? Is it going to improve that? All right. As always, listeners, this has been a lot of fun. I love sharing with you guys. Take it out to the field. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your loved ones. And we'll see you back here on episode 27. Bye for now.
This has been the 80-20 Baseball Experience.
This is a really good team, and so you have to earn everything you have against them and take opportunities when they present themselves.
Take it to the field.